Chapter 1. On the Auction Block. Visitors from across the South came to Georgia in March 1859. Hundreds of people got rooms at hotels. Then they went outside the city. The big crowd was there for an auction. 436 slaves were being sold. The auction began on March 3rd. Buyers inspected the slaves the same way they might check a horse. The buyers opened the slaves' mouths to check their teeth, pinched their muscles, and made them walk around. Auctioneers only cared about making as much money as possible. Sometimes they sold husbands, wives, and their children together. However, there were no promises that this would happen. Often, families were ripped apart. How did the enslaved men and women feel? How did they react to being inspected by strangers? They had to obey the white buyers and sellers. Auctioneers could not sell someone who appears rowdy or disobedient. They were quick to whip anyone who seemed rebellious. Sometimes whips were not needed. Many of the 436 individuals wanted to impress future owners. They hoped their new owners would treat them with kindness. They wished that their families would not be split apart. However, they had no control over their futures. The slaves only knew that they would always be treated as property. In the 1800s and earlier, there were many debates about slavery in the United States. Slavery was important to the nation's economy. This was especially true in the South. There, slaves worked on cotton and tobacco plantations. Northern factories made cloth from cotton grown by slaves. Slavery was a huge part of the culture in some places. There had been slaves in the colonies since the 1600s. However, some people believed that slavery was wrong. They believed that one person should not own another. Slavery had grown more complicated by the time the Civil War began in 1861. Some people argue that owning another human being and treating that person as property was cruel. Unfortunately, many slave owners did not consider non-whites to be human beings. Some believed that slavery was good for Africans because it taught them Christianity and Western civilization. Some slave owners did not view themselves as cruel or greedy. Some treated their slaves kindly, similar to family members. Nonetheless, slaves under the kindest masters were still not free. Africans in North America suffered from slavery for more than 200 years. Countless lives were affected by slavery. The men and women who labor on plantations, the Southern slave owners, the Northern abolitionists who fought to end slavery, and many others. It was a dark chapter in U.S. history. Slavery shaped the future of the country and the definition of the word freedom.